We're just gonna do some more outlines, update this piece. Let's do this middle part right here. Try to get as many outlines in.
For $1,000, Black Day comes after Sunday.
What the hell? $1,000? Oh, this is gonna be a little tricky because that little flap from the other page is lifting. Normally you want to cut a certain amount of inches or centimeters from here, from that middle part, and then tape it together as one piece, side by side, with the ends meeting each other. In this case, I just overlapped one, so that's why it's kind of lifting. But it's okay because it's gonna be in the computer, and you know you can always fix that. I just did it because I was kind of rushing. I should have cut it. To avoid this, you have to kind of make sure that ends meet and you're not just overlapping the two pieces of papers. It's okay. Thanks, Olive. So normally for these background details, you'd be switching the nib with the Maru nib because it's so much easier to create thinner lines with that. Really super hairline, thin lines. So, not hairline, it's like hair thin lines is what I'm trying to say. I need more coffee. But you could do that, or you could just, use the G nib and really control the pressure to make sure you're not putting too much thickness to the lines you're making. So here it's a little tricky. So we're working in that middle space.
Gonna keep this Friday going with a mix of your kind of music. Title fight starting it off.
You always want the nib for this part of the nib to be going this way. Always go towards that, because then you start to bend the teeth. See these little, this point, it has like this line in the middle. It'll start to bend and be crooked, and it'll cut into the paper. So you want to avoid obviously cutting into the paper or erasing too hard that you cut into it. So when it comes to this though, it's always best to pull towards, pull out, and you keep it not a 90 degree, but like almost 90 degrees. That's the best way. I do this sometimes. If I can like glide through it real quick, that's great, but it's best to kind of hold it like this so the ink flow could come out better. See, I want to turn the light on, but I know the graphite is going to end up being super shiny and you won't be able to even read the image. So hopefully this doesn't do too much. Let's see what can. Yeah, we're good if we do it that way. I wanted to turn this light on. What happens if I do this? Oh yeah, you completely can't see this guy anymore. I don't like that. I don't like that. And when you're doing this outlining method, it's important that you're really conscious of what part of the form you're outlining and in what ways does it break away from being a part of the whole rather than a part of its own part. So like these fingers that is holding this microphone, right? I'm gonna kind of go and show the direction that, okay, this is where it's gonna go, just to make it clear in terms of an outline perspective, how the lines wrap around the form. So keep that in mind when you're using this method. You don't want to do a hard outline all over it, like a silhouette. That's if you're gonna just make it completely black, right? And there's no details, no image within it. It's just a silhouette. So this is a method to pretty much get 50% of your lines done without much thinking, without much effort, because when it comes to inking, unless you're doing some kind of style piece, it's really about reduction of the lines. You're trying to get, okay, what are the essential lines that make up this image? And inking is where you kind of determine a lot of that. Especially if you pencil like me, where it's like chaotic and wild, and very, very raw and energetic. You want the inks to, you see how once I started going towards this, it started to bite into the page. So we gotta kind of, a lot of trial and error. And I would recommend practicing aligning your fingers so that when you're holding it, it's almost like one thing. This, if you can do this, then it'll let you swivel. It'll let you swivel easier, and you'll strengthen your control and your pressure skills. You'll strengthen those skills. Uh-oh, I'm too far. It's not that big, but. See? Switch. Hey, too much. That's fine. Hey, how you doing, Derek? Thank you. Appreciate you, bro. So, like I said, doing this method, it pretty much cuts down the amount of work by half, which is significant, especially if you have deadlines and you got to churn out chapters every week. You're going to have to be as efficient as possible when you can. That doesn't mean that you should be cutting corners and drawing less, but it means you need to learn how to figure out ways to draw efficient using different methods. You know, some people, because of the pressure, they end up really doing really raw pencils, and they just go in with the ink, and then they develop a capacity to just ink the image pretty efficiently, right? Because they don't have to do too much pencils. Other people, they like to explore more, so they'll be more on the pencil side, really figuring out the image and what it could be. And then when they go in with the inks, it's locking down. I'd be the latter, right? And for me, my pencils, they probably take longer than my inks because I like to explore so much the story element and what could happen, what is happening in the illustration. What up, James? Thank you. And especially when you guys are weekly, releasing weekly chapters, you're gonna have to not only work on those chapters, you're gonna have to work on writing and sketching and developing designs and storytelling. So there's a lot of moving parts. And yeah, you'll have, if you're published, you have a editor who could kind of help with that, and he'll have assistance for you, but you really want to be able to do a lot of this stuff without any help. You kind of have to become like, there's no way around it. You have to really become a production beast if you want to be going weekly with someone like Shonen Jump or Kodansha or whatever magazine that picks you up. You want to be a beast, completely able to do a lot of this work without much help. And that goes for writing, that goes for development, that goes for designing, and the page working for every chapter. You need to get back to your roots. Okay, yeah, what do you mean by that, though?
Okay, let me change it. I got a few songs that'll get us moving, starting with the statement.
Sometimes I sit in my room and I look up in the night. I count on my fingers the things that I got right. When I'm up, like.
Moving on, gonna keep it going with Flying Fish and other music you've been into lately.
And another thing to note is you have to be conscious of where the characters, or whatever elements of the picture, where they're sitting in the depth of the picture, right? So are they in front or are they behind? Are they in the very, very front, called the foreground? Are they in the middle or the midground? Or are they in the background? And the way you can indicate that is by the outlines themselves. What you'll see right now is you have these characters right here. They're holding up this giant boombox, and it's behind this character over here, and these characters, this character over here, and these guys over here, right? So it's way off over there. So what I'm gonna do to make that very clear is I'm gonna do a thicker outline for this guy. And so what that automatically does when you're using black and white and you're using ink is it makes it appear that it's closer to the viewer rather than further. And at the same time, you don't want your outlines to just be a straight, exact cookie cutter outline of the character, especially these outlines that are not hard outlines or they're completely closed and it's just like that cookie cutter shape. You want to have your characters and how the form changes. You want to indicate that with the thickness. So so you see here it's thin over here, then it gets thicker, then it goes thin. I'm playing with how the form is, the lines are wrapping around the form, and I'm even playing with how the thick and thinness of the line itself indicates the form. And so essentially what it is, to make something appear more interesting, what you want to do is make the dimensionality of the character, whatever you're drawing, more and more visible, right? So it means cutting out the fat and knowing how to play with that thin and thickness to indicate depth, to indicate the form of the character, whatever you're drawing. All right, that's enough. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend using this method if your pencils are not really tight and you have to pass it to your inker, right? If you have someone you're working on and you don't really do tight pencils and you just pass it to the inker and let them finish it off for you, I wouldn't recommend this method, right? If you're an inker, I would recommend, you know, you got to kind of do each character, each part of the piece, complete it, you know, and where, you know, indicate where it is within the image, background, midground, or foreground. But if you guys are doing your own, like I am, you're the pencil, you're the inker, you're everything, you can do whatever the hell you want. That's something really important to kind of embrace, especially when you don't necessarily need to follow these procedures and standards. That's just pretty much there to replace your own brain, so you don't think and you don't question and you don't explore what you are naturally drawn towards, what your process naturally becomes, right? So I think that's the most important thing to figure out, is that your own process is going to look different than your neighboring or friend artist's process. And you take what you like and you ditch what you don't like, and you explore and play with that. It's very important. Just like with the tools you start to get familiar with, you have to kind of take a risk by buying it, testing it out, say, this doesn't work, and if you can, return it, right? You do the same thing with your creation process as well. You're always trying to find ways to expand, and you don't want to, of course, be stuck in exploration where you're always, well, what if I do it this way? You want to have your own process, your own standard procedures that you can rely on and trust in because you've developed it. And it'll happen naturally as long as you keep drawing and you keep an open mind and stay curious. You will be able to create your own little story worlds or huge story worlds, whatever you want. And yeah, you'd be liberated to create. And that's an awesome thing. Once you kind of get that feeling where you feel confident enough that you feel you could draw your story world and share it with people, your manga, your comic, whatever, that is something that really is extremely valuable. And I encourage you guys to really dig deep and put in the time you need to become liberated in creating and sharing your own stories, your own world with the rest of us. And it doesn't mean you're gonna have just easy time. No. You know, at that point you've kind of accepted there's a learning process to everything, that you have enough tools that you can answer a lot of the problems that you're going to run into, and you could create new ways too. So you're more confident. You will see that this confidence that you gain through liberating yourself by developing your own way and learning from those around you and taking what you like and ditching what you don't like, you will see that it's something that will make it so you can fully show and express what you've been kind of thinking of and daydreaming about all day, every day, right? Your story, your comic, whatever. Okay. So we've kind of reached the end of this one. We actually went over the time. We're just trying to do a simple update. This isn't a priority work. This is something that this is actually in the second arc of the story, where we're gonna have like a double spread. This is what you guys are gonna see in that. It's gonna be a colored double spread or black and white if it's in the volume. And basically when you're reading the manga, I think this comes around chapter, I want to say 3 or 4, maybe 5, you'll see this, okay? So this is like way later. This is not relevant to where the priority work, which is here working on the actual pages themselves. Right? So these still pretty raw. I got a storyboard. I gotta refine and do all that good business. All right, guys. These tricks translate subtly. Yes, sir. What up, DePello? You haven't done any sketch work while you do most of your art 3D these days. Oh, I see what you mean now. So you were a sketch artist, and then you've been just doing 3D for so long, but you feel like you've been disconnected. These tricks translate subtly. Yes, there's a lot of tricks, and you got to just keep that curiosity, dude. I'm telling you, all it is as long as you have infinite curiosity and the power to ask questions as you're creating, and to try and ask, well, that didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? Well, what if I did it this way? When you start asking that and you start following that rabbit hole, all the tricks, everything, you know, it's gonna reveal itself. So it's not so much of I gotta go read this in a textbook, I gotta go to school and get this art technique or whatever. It's, yes, there's a little bit of that, of course, but most of it is actually you diving into the page and exploring and figuring it out really for yourself. And that's actually the fun part. Enjoy that process. Don't hate it. Don't beat yourself up ever, and don't think anything negative that in this path that you're going to experience, and you will experience it. You need to learn to transform it. Transform that negativity into doubt, and then transform that doubt into questions, neutral questions. This is how you can segue out emotionally, mentally from that space, because you don't want to stay in that space where it's negative energy and it's holding you back from creating, right? The positive energy, that rabbit hole, that spiral that you go into as you're creating and you start to lose track of time. To enter that state, you need to constantly feed yourself things, thoughts, and ideas and art that hurls you towards that direction, that at least lifts you a little closer. So stay positive, stay curious, and keep creating, bro. You're gonna get all the answers on the page, even if you can't see them just yet. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna end the stream. I wish I could do more, but this isn't a priority work. I have to do other stuff. I have to do the pages. I have to do the stories, right? We have one more thing we gotta update, which is the spin-off story, Demo Files from Demonation. This is more of a seinen style. It's more bloody. It's more raw and gritty. So we're gonna work on this next. I'll probably do maybe just this outline right here. Do a simple update. I do not want to draw all these crowd. There's a bunch of people in the crowd over here laughing at this main action in the center that's on stage, and this guy's like pretending he's like orchestrating it. He's so in love with this horrible scene, and they're obviously evil people laughing at this person about to get eaten. So I had to do a bunch of audience members. We're gonna do that another time. I'm probably gonna just attack this and maybe just do some outlines for that too. Okay. Thank you guys. I'll be seeing you all. Appreciate you, Vic. You're so awesome. Thank you. Later, Sergio and Figureland. Thank you, brother. What up, guys?